Hey everyone, welcome to Judging for the Win. I'm Dave, and this is my daily ruling. Today's question comes to us straight out of the Judge Vault. Amy plays Levitation. Nick responds with Dress Down. Do Amy's creatures have flying? Okay, so to answer this one, we'll need to recall a couple of important facts about how continuous effects work. First off, the game categorizes all continuous effects into layers based on what they do. Effects in earlier layers always apply before effects in later layers. Although this system is reviled for requiring a certain amount of rote memorization, it does a pretty good job of handling everything in a relatively straightforward manner, and giving the intuitive answer most of the time. For example, if we played this Levitation and then March of the Machines, the type-changing effect of March of the Machines applies in an earlier layer than the ability-granting effect of Levitation, meaning that all your artifacts would turn into creatures in time to be affected by Levitation, regardless of the order that those two enchantments entered the battlefield, which is the result that most people would probably expect. While knowing the order the layers work in is enough to answer most continuous effects questions, in the case from the original problem statement, we need something more. Both Dress Down and Levitation want to add or remove abilities, which puts them in the same layer. There are two additional concepts that the game uses to handle cases like this. Usually the effects in layer are applied in timestamp order, in other words, based on which one started applying first. In cases where a dependency exists, though, that will override the timestamp order. A dependency is a situation like what we talked about with the March of the Machines example, where applying one effect first would change something about how the other effect applies, except that both of the effects apply in the same layer. Like the layer system, the dependency rule exists so that we can get the intuitive answer for these cases. So a dependent effect will wait until after the effect it depends on to apply. Now that certainly seems like it could be relevant here, so let's do a quick check to see if the continuous effects from the original problem statement meet the definition for a dependency set out in this rule. First, we know that applying Dress Down will not change the text or existence of the Levitation effect, because Levitation is an enchantment, not a creature, so Dress Down does not apply to it. Neither does it change what objects the Levitation would apply to. The third point is the one that makes a lot of people wonder whether there might be dependency here. Applying Levitation first feels like it might change what Dress Down does to the things that it applies to. But consider that either way, Dress Down is removing all abilities. Adding the flying ability might change how much work it takes to do that, but it isn't changing what the Dress Down is doing. In the same way, the Levitation wants to add the flying ability to all Amy's creatures. Whether that happens before or after Dress Down applies might change how relevant that is, but not what the Levitation is doing. Therefore, we can say that we do not meet the requirements for a dependency to exist, and we can base our answer on timestamps. I suppose for completeness, I should mention there are two other necessary criteria that I didn't talk about, but we easily meet both of those because these effects do apply in the same layer, and neither one is a characteristic defining ability. Now we said that Nick responded to the Levitation with the Dress Down. Now that means the Dress Down will enter the battlefield first, so it has an earlier timestamp. After that, the Levitation will apply. Continuous effects do apply continuously, but Dress Down will always be applied first, meaning that Amy's creatures will all have flying. A better play for Nick would be to wait until the Levitation is already on the battlefield, and then play Dress Down. That would ensure Dress Down would have the later timestamp and therefore apply after Levitation, removing flying from all of Amy's creatures. Let's close out with a challenge question to test your understanding. Amy controls Flutterfox, and she plays a Dress Down. Does Flutterfox have flying? What would the answer be if these permanents entered the battlefield in the other order? Okay, so like before, we have two continuous effects that both want to apply in the same layer. Before we consider timestamps, let's check to see if there's a dependency. We'll observe that applying Dress Down will remove all the abilities from Flutterfox, meaning that Flutterfox's continuous effect would not exist in that case. Accordingly, this situation does fulfill the criteria for a dependency to exist. This being the case, we can say that Flutterfox depends on Dress Down, and Dress Down will apply first, regardless of what order these permanents entered the battlefield. Flutterfox will not have any abilities by the chance it gets to apply, so it will not gain flying. If you're interested in a fuller explanation on continuous effects and the logic behind that system, I recommend my video Continuous Effects in 3 Easy Steps. And if you'd like some more practice working with dependencies, you can check out my video, How Do Dependencies Work, for a full breakdown. That's all I have for you today. How did you do? Join me again next time for another daily ruling. Until then, I hope you have a great day.